And when we ask our Ubuntu boys what their favorite value is, we often get that their favorite value is family, because they come into an environment at Ubuntu where, you know, we've had white kids in the academy before. We have Melissa kids, we have, colored kids, we have, staff of all races. And it's a really blended environment, which I think in the context of Safka, you don't get super often. And especially in football, like when we play against teams, they can very often be, a black team or a colored team, and it's not usually mixed. So I think it's really interesting for our boys to both mix those races, for them to get to know kids of other faiths. A lot of our Muslim kids really enjoy Ubuntu because they get to learn, a different faith, and then the Christian kids as well get to learn from their Muslim brothers. Yeah. So it's a really cool place, and I think that's what that word Ubuntu means. It is I am because we are. There's that group, that interconnectedness that I think we live out really well.
Hello and welcome to the Impact Insiders podcast, a podcast that explores real-life examples of people and organizations that are making an impact. My name is Anil Ngwab, and I'm the project manager here at Relative Impact. Today we are talking to Shawn Buck, who is the director of development at Ubuntu Football. And the topic of our discussion today will be around sports for development. Hi Shawn, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us today on the Impact Insiders podcast. Happy to have you there as a guest. Just to kick us off, I just wanted to touch on a point that I think you might have experience on podcasts already, and just to hone in on that. Can you just tell us about your previous experiences with your podcast and what that was about?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here, and I've been listening to previous episodes, so it's cool to now, be on the podcast is fun. But yeah, I have a little bit of experience with podcasts. I used to, I guess back in 2018, I did my own podcast. It was called Podcrastination, and I'm a big procrastinator, so it was just kind of taking what I do daily is looking up random information and getting distracted, and kind of doing that for my listeners. So my kind of tagline was that MIT suggests that for every 15 minutes of work that you do, you should take a 10-minute break. So here's 10 minutes of just useless information while you take your break with me. So it was, every episode was 10 minutes. It was short and quick. I'd get into why mangoes have the same chemicals as poison ivy, or weird amusement park rides, all sorts of different stuff. Okay. It was fun.
That's very interesting. Is that still going?
No. I did about maybe 13 or 14 episodes, and then I got distracted and started procrastinating on that. So it's been a couple of years now.
No, that's very interesting. So just on the context then of Ubuntu Football, I see you got the hat represented there as well. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us more about that and what inspired you to get involved?
Yeah, definitely. So Ubuntu Football is a nonprofit football academy that's focused on mentoring and educating the next generation of leaders and society changers and footballers. And so we really started around this idea that 60% of kids in South Africa are growing up without a father in the household. So just seeing that lack of positive male leadership, and then seeing the tool that football could be in this context. We kind of brought those together, and basically we bring in kids when they're around 12 years old. They then stick with us for the next 6-7 years of their life. And so we're investing heavily in their football. We run our own independent school. We do a lot of character formation programs, and we have a residence where a bunch of the boys live. And then after they kind of leave the program, they then go on different opportunities. So from professional football, we have, I think, about 15 kids that are playing professional football, both here in South Africa, and then one that's made it to Europe earlier this year. We have kids that pursue university. So we have 22 that have gone to the US on soccer scholarships and have received, I think, $3.4 million worth of scholarships so far.
Amazing. Wow.
And then we have local kids that are working as, teachers and business owners and police officers and kind of the whole gambit. So that's kind of what Ubuntu is. And then for me, my personal kind of involvement, I basically got to know one of the founders is American, and I got to know him when I was in high school. I was in grade 9. I met him at a summer camp, and yeah, my parents were in the middle of a divorce, and I was like trying to escape and get out of that situation. And so I snuck backstage at this camp, and I found the founder and his wife, and I basically said, "Take me with you to South Africa." And they were like, "No, we don't know you. You're 15 years old." So that made me more angry, but it was fine. I just kind of kept in contact with them and kept bugging them. They'll say that I'm very relentless. And yeah, basically then I graduated from high school and I got a scholarship to go to university, and they let me take 6 months off, which was a big mistake for them, because I came here to South Africa to do an internship and worked with Ubuntu, and I just absolutely loved it. And I think the combination between, like, you know, a coach on a team, any sport, but particularly football, a coach is guiding you. And I think as I was going through, you know, parents' divorce, and I was always looking for, you know, different adult role models to fill that. And so being a coach and having a coach meant a lot to me. And then my teammates were always my friends. Like I was never the greatest footballer, but I always loved going to practice and joking around and having fun. So I think friends have always been family to me.
Yeah.
And so I just saw a lot of that in what Ubuntu was doing and the impact that made in my own life. And so wanted to be a part of that and helping make that happen for other kids.
That's incredible. Sure. What a story, what a journey. And I can imagine also just you obviously having then created those connections and then seeing how the young individuals, obviously being in Ubuntu Football, how they create those connections with their fellow students as well that are with them on that journey. And the connections that they have with those coaches, the mentors and all that. It's a thing that you carry with you for the rest of your life. And I'm pretty sure it also makes a massive difference in just how you go about living your life and the outlook that you have on it as well. You keep those connections.
Exactly. I'll say to that. So we have 5 values here at Ubuntu, and hopefully I can name them all right now. So it's family, growth, excellence, positivity, and honor. There we go. I did it. And so those are our 5 values that really are instilled in everything we do, from the school to the football to the character, all of it. And when we ask our Ubuntu boys what their favorite value is, we often get that their favorite value is family, because they come into an environment at Ubuntu where, you know, we've had white kids in the academy before, we have Xhosa kids, we have, you know, colored kids, we have, you know, staff of all races, and it's a really blended environment, which I think in the context of South Africa you don't get super often. And especially in football, like when we play against teams, they can very often be, you know, a black team or a colored team, and you know, it's not usually mixed. So I think it's really interesting for our boys to both mix those races, for them to get to know kids of other faiths. A lot of our like Muslim kids really enjoy Ubuntu because they get to learn, you know, a different faith, and then the Christian kids as well get to learn from their Muslim brothers. So it's a really cool place. And I think that's what that word Ubuntu means. It is, I am because we are. There's that group, that interconnectedness that I think we live out really well, and the boys live out really well. So it's cool to see them really valuing that, and especially in a country that I think you know, needs that kind of unity.
And I guess that's also what sport gives you. And I know you guys are about football, but there's a holistic view around everything you guys do, centered around football. And just reflecting on that as a whole, I mean, just as someone who's already played sport as well for quite a long time, you do carry those like values and principles through into your life as well. You learn a lot from other people, because people have different backgrounds, different ways of doing things. And you kind of do pick that up, and it's like a lot of life lessons that you can learn. You're saying that the kids are there from 12 years old, and they're there for 6, 7, 8 years, and so you do pick up a lot of changes from the background that they had, and then now they're carrying on with new values and just different outlooks and perspective on their lives. That's incredible. So then just on that point, then, like, how important is it specifically then for young individuals and who dream of being professional athletes one day, to then also have like that diversity of their background, like that educational background as well? I know you said you do get scholars who then go on to become footballers professionally, but you then get those who pursue other things such as academic backgrounds. So what is that importance that you guys decided to go for both football and the academic background?
Yeah, so I think Ubuntu started is just a kind of football practice. So once a week or twice a week, we were leading a little football practice with a group of kids. And I think we saw, okay, cool. Let's say we get 4 hours a week with them, and then they're going to school in their own communities. And we don't know what's kind of going on there, and we're not able to pour into their lives there. So then it really looked at, okay, cool. What can we do in education? And really looking at, what is the value of education? So we then started we first started sending kids to a school. And then in 2017, we started our own school. And I think that's been just game changing for us to really pour into, like you said, the holistic, view of the kid. And so we've started a program over the last 2 years called Dual Dream, which has also really changed the game and become, a really
there's a book about that as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So there's a book about it written by our coach Dave Waters, and then produced and published by Relative. And it was cool making that connection. So the basic concept is that every kid that comes to Ubuntu, and so many kids throughout South Africa, want to be professional football players. And so they, the likelihood of that happening is very small. I mean, if you make it into kind of a professional academy of some sort, it's really like a 0.1% that are actually going to make it to play in the PSL or play in Europe.
That's a small percentage, yeah.
It's a very small percentage. And so, while that's true, and then on the other side, even if they make it to play, they're only going to make it to 35. That's like a max career in football.
Yeah.
And so what are you going to do, for the next 30 years while you're, expected to work? And so I think, we want to introduce the boys to those concepts and to that idea, and really frame it for them very truthfully and honestly. But at the same time, you don't want to crush their dreams. You don't want to say, like, don't pursue football. I don't think that's the right approach either. So for us, it's really saying, what can you be doing alongside your dream of football? What dual dream can you have? And so that could be, being a lawyer or a doctor or whatever, but just something that you're pursuing with just as much passion as you are football. And so I think that's where, this is a program we now do in our school, and it's really helping to frame in the boys' minds, like, oh, the school thing is important. It's not just something that, Ubuntu is forcing me to do, or it's not just, a kind of a part of what's expected, but it opens up real opportunities to other things that I can do in my life. And so we run, like I said, a weekly program for Dual Dream. And so it's kind of in 3 parts. I would say the first part is opening the boys' minds. So, in a lot of their communities, there's kind of 5 things that a man can do. So it could be like a laborer, a police officer, driving a taxi, that's working at Pick and Pay. It's a very small list. Is that like
in the standard South African context?
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's opening their minds to, like, oh, there's 1,000 possibilities out there, even more. Like, so we've had guest speakers come in that are parliamentarians, or work at cryptocurrency companies, or invest in property, or do property development, like all sorts of just interesting different things that they wouldn't have been exposed to before. I think, opening their minds is then the first part. And the second part is getting them to declare something. So that could be, like I said, I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, I want to invest in crypto, I want to develop property, whatever it is. And honestly, that could change tomorrow. That's not really the point. It's just, declaring something. It just helps you to then get to the third step, which is we can help you start making plans. Exactly. So, if you want to be a doctor, we can help you make sure that you're doing physics, because you need that, to study medicine. And then, we can introduce you to other people in that field. We can help you get internships or job shadow or whatever it is. So I think it's been a really amazing program, and it's really changed the way we do a lot of things. And then we get to do lots of other cool things in that program as well, as far as helping them think about how can they change the world, helping them think about their mental health, helping them think about, their finances, kind of that holistic, just normal life stuff that we all complain about. Oh, we didn't learn this in school. Because we run our own school, we then get to do those things. Okay. So it's been, really amazing.
That's interesting. And just as you're speaking now, just describing that, I also just wondered, is there like a selection process? How does it all come about, like from start? yeah, what does that process look like in order to get those kids onto the program, into the academy? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I would say the very first thing we're looking at in kids is their football skill. We are an elite football academy. So we're scouring the city, we're scouring South Africa, lots of different connections. We have an amazing group of volunteer scouts that go to tournaments and games over the weekends. And yeah, are letting us know about really amazing kids. And so actually we're starting to plan the process. In October, we'll have a big open trial, and both inviting those kids we've scouted, but then also inviting, anyone to come out, and it'll be kind of an under 12 trial, under 11 trial. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, last year, I think over a couple of days, we saw over 1,000 kids. And it's just like pure madness and chaos, but it's really, it's a good opportunity to see a bunch of people. And then basically once we've then identified the football skill, then we're able to start looking again more holistically. So
yeah,
looking at the kind of their character, looking at, their kind of, we do educational readiness tests. So it's kind of seeing, where are they at educationally, and are we able to really assist them in our current situation?
sure.
And so from all of that, getting a real overview of a kid, we've had, opportunities where the kid's football has just been out of this world, but we've realized, what, I don't think his character or his mindset is really in what we're doing. Like, you have to have a really big growth mindset to be a part of Ubuntu, because we're going to challenge you, we're going to push you. We're not just looking for, kids that are cool with the status quo. We're looking for kids that are really looking to push the boundaries. And so, yeah, that's kind of what then helps us to recruit the kids in.
Okay. So then I think, as you were saying that now as well, just in terms of obviously the football ability, but also then the mindset to be able to challenge yourself to push beyond just football and have that vision of how else can I develop as a person educationally as well. What's my vision over and above everything that I've ever envisioned for myself, is that so when they do eventually join the program, then do they how easily do then they take on that whole mindset shift? Have you found it's been a challenge, or it's been something where some take it on a lot faster than others? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can vary, but at the end of the day, we were both teenage boys, and so we know how hard-headed and just crazy and knucklehead we can be sometimes. So yeah, I mean, we have, especially, I mean, we've been in kind of existence in this current form for about 11 years now. And so now we have lots of stories of those kids who were just incredibly hard-headed and difficult while they were with us, as we continued to kind of pound in the values and try to work with them. And we are probably too graceful sometimes with a lot of our kids. But yeah, we really love them, and we really see their potential. And so we really try our hardest to do everything to kind of, keep them moving forward. But yeah, they can be real knuckleheads while they're with us. And then you start to see, as they get to, like 20, 21, 22, and they just start to grow up and mature, and they're like, oh yeah, like I realize now what you were saying, and like why that was so important. And so honestly, like, we've had that, especially our founder, so often we'll get texts from our graduates saying like, hey, I just got this exciting opportunity. I just wanted to thank you for like making me do this, or telling me this was the right thing, or instilling these values in me. It's made a big difference. So I think, like all of us. And
also just obviously a drive for Ubuntu as a whole, just be like, actually, this is working. Like, let's keep pushing at it,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've grown a lot, like even since I've been here for 8 years now. And I mean, when I got here, it was like our staff meetings were 4 people in a room, and now we're having like staff gatherings that are 30 people. And so it's grown massively, but a lot of those staff, like, weren't here from the beginning. They're quite new. And so we even try to remind the new staff, like, hey, here are some of these success stories. And while you're dealing with this, this kid in your class that's misbehaving and being rude and all this stuff, like, this kid that's now graduated was also like that. And this is his story now, and this is what he's doing, and this is the person he's become. And so it's trying to remind yeah, a lot of our staff, as they get frustrated and as things are hard, it's hard working with kids that have, traumatic backgrounds and are struggling with different things. But yeah, really trying to encourage our staff, like there is an end product to this and it's really exciting. But it can take them a while to get there.
No, I can imagine. It is quite a journey, and I can imagine that's why it probably takes about 6, 7, 8 years to actually get that going. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's our whole thing, is like we're not investing in like thousands of kids a day. Our school is 55 kids. It's small. It's class sizes of like 8, 9 kids, but we're heavily investing. I mean, a lot of those kids we're seeing 6, 7 days a week. For, like you said, 6, 7 years.
And are they there with you guys all the time, or how does the dynamic work?
Yeah, they're here. I mean, we have 30 of those kids live like at the residence with us, so they'll go home on the weekends, like after games and stuff. But I mean, yeah, most days of the week they're getting kind of 24-hour contact time. So yeah, if you were to kind of calculate up those hours over the 6, 7 years, it's intense investment. In some of these kids.
Okay. So then I'm aware that it is obviously quite a journey from those 6 years, either pursuing being a professional athlete, and only a percentage of people make it, or otherwise you pursue a educational background if that's what you have envisioned for your life. But in the context of Ubuntu, then I'm aware that it's obviously quite a journey. Then for the professional athletes, and how they've been journeying with you guys for 6, 7, 8 years, and only a percentage of them as a whole actually only make it professionally, not just for Ubuntu, but just as a general figure. So in the context, then, what are you like in terms of what you're looking to achieve? What are some of the positive reflections that have come out of your time at Ubuntu? Like, if you can reflect on a few stories. You said there were a few who made it to professionally, PSL, professionally overseas. Some are now getting funding for overseas educational opportunities. So what are some of the key ones that you can think of?
Yeah, definitely. I'll kind of look at our 3 different pathways we have. So as far as professional soccer, university, and then like quality employment. So I would say professional soccer, I mean, we've had some really amazing kids that are kind of just starting this professional career, and we're excited to see. I think they had to push really hard to get there. And but yeah, it's been great. We actually have quite a few kids that have gone on to Stellenbosch FC, into their PSL team. And so their MDC, which is like the league below, or the kind of reserve team, they just went on a tour to Europe or to the UK, and they played against quite a few like EPL kind of academy teams and things. And they were winning 4 or 5 like 0. They were really beating these teams. And so 5 of our kids were on that team. And so it was really amazing to see and to celebrate them. Like they've worked hard and they've gotten that. And there's a kid in Belarus that's our kind of first kid into Europe, named Menashe, and just a really incredible kid. I lived with him at the residence for a number of years, and we would like go to lunch every weekend together. And someone I really love, and just to see the way that like he's had to grind out to get this opportunity. I mean, obviously COVID screwed so many people's lives up, but it really messed with his. I mean, he had trials to go to Europe in like April of 2020, and there's everything stopped. And so for a year and a half, 2 years, he was just stuck and couldn't go anywhere and take advantage of this opportunity.
No, for sure.
And so now he's finally gotten over there and is really just, I mean, he's playing amazing. He's growing up, like living by himself and doing this thing. And so it's been really exciting to see. And then I think on the education, I mean, there's so many stories I could talk, all day about all of them. I think there's one kid, Alex, that has gone on to study at Dartmouth in the US, and is just an incredibly smart kid, but is also really community focused and really wants to, see South Africa become better. And so that is the motivation behind his studies, is to figure out, how can I take what I'm learning here and really apply it. He got an internship with BlackRock Investments this summer in San Francisco. And I think that also was just an eye-opening experience about how he could use this kind of American opportunity to make some money, to make connections, and then slowly work himself back to South Africa so he can really be effective and impactful when he's back here. And I love seeing those boys when I go to the States and having conversations with them, and seeing them in that US context is really exciting.
Yeah.
The other kind of the third pathway for us is quality employment. So a great story around that is Carl. So Carl, was a knucklehead when he was in the academy as well. I was talking to one of our volunteers, and he was saying that he remembers tutoring Carl when Carl was studying for his matric. And Carl said, I am, never going to come back to the classroom. I hate school. I hate, studying, all of this. Thankfully, Carl got his matric and went and, graduated from high school, which is great. And he started to try to pursue professional football. That didn't really work out for him. So then he got a job coaching at a local school, actually the school we used to send the boys to. And they just loved him so much there that the school offered to pay for him to get his teaching degree while he continued to coach there and then do some student teaching. So that was obviously a really exciting opportunity.
Yeah.
And he's a couple years into that. And back in July, the school had a grade 7 teacher leave. And so they did, interviews around the city and tried to, find a teacher to fill that position. But the current teachers at the school said, actually, no, we love Carl and we want Carl to take over that classroom. And so in July, Carl took over that classroom and now, has his first classroom ever and is now teaching these kids. And it's amazing to see the way that they look up to him, the ways that, the kids he coaches look up to him. He's from their community. He looks like them. And it's just, it's incredibly special. And that's really what Ubuntu is about. It's about, raising up these leaders who will then affect more people and really do more than, I could or any of our staff could, that they will get these platforms and really be able to live out their passion.
Yeah.
So that's like Carl is now, going to be teaching for decades to come and will affect like decades of classrooms and kids. And I think it's just seeing Carl's story has been.
He's got exactly that. He's got such a strong story to carry in as well.
Exactly. And so I think like seeing his story has just been so encouraging for all of us. And like he that is the embodiment of what we're about, is raising up leaders to affect, to positively affect families and communities.
So Shawn, thank you so much for joining us today on the Impact Insiders podcast. I think, just having you here just really also shed light on things that are happening around South Africa. And although it may not be things that we are seeing on a day-to-day, the work that you guys are doing are really having an impact on the closer community here in South Africa, but also having those children, then equipping them with mentoring, training, and also really honing in on their football skills really gives them that drive to really influence other communities around the world. And that's amazing to see. So really well done on that. And I really hope that you guys keep progressing and keep growing and having a greater reach on everyone. And change those lives there. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nele. Really love this podcast. And so it's really cool to be a part of it, and appreciate you having me on.
Sure, no problem. If you want to have a listen to it, you can find it on Apple Store or Spotify. So we'll keep you updated with that. But thank you so much, and have a great time.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Cheers. This has been an Impact Insiders podcast powered by Reddit. Subscribe to the podcast either on Spotify or on Apple Music to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. For more information about Relative Impact and the work that we're doing, check out our website and sign up to our newsletter to get updates directly into your inbox.